cabinet meeting right now. Sorry, I'm a little bit late on this. However, Kristi Noem has been talking about the efforts made in Texas floods and talking about how they've been saving people and how many people have died. And oh, it's so upsetting. It's so, so tragic. But anyway, let's go live right now back to the cabinet meeting. President Trump is about to, well, he's speaking right now. So let's do that. Hold on. Okay.
But this approached almost with that speed. When you see a dam break, it's not a pretty sight. It wipes out everything. And this is the kind of thing that built up so fast. And it's happened
Hi,
2 or
Darla.
3 times before over the
Good
years,
morning.
but not to this extent. But tell them when you met the father who was picking up the daughter's clothing. And,
I had walked through the cabin where all the little girls died, and I had kind of fallen apart in there, but I walked out of the cabin, and a gentleman was standing there, and he said, that man over there needs a hug. And so I walked over to him, and I hugged him, and I said, do you work here? And he said, no, my little girl was in that cabin.
Oh, God.
And he said, and I just found her best friend
No.
about an hour and a half ago. She had passed away. And he just fell apart. And so then we just hugged and talked for probably an hour about that. But then there was the grandpa was there looking for his granddaughter as well. There was a dad there of one of the counselors. The counselor was alive, but she was dealing with the fact that she had hung on to some of these girls and was trying to keep them out of the flood waters and had gotten hit by something and had lost 2 of the girls and wasn't able to hang on to them and was going to live the rest of her life thinking about that moment when she wasn't able to hang on to these girls. But these parents were picking up their kids' belongings out of the mud and throughout the camp and putting them in bags. And then one of the dads said, I knew 50 of these girls here. So I knew that was her dress and my daughter's friend's dress. So he was picking it up and putting it in a bag to return to her parents. And so it was and then the director was there comforting everybody who had lost his father the night before too. And he was still there trying to facilitate all of these parents grieving their children and find them. So the strength of people is incredible. One of the things that I asked there today that day was that they all have escorts or counselors when parents come in. So from that point, that when they came into the camp, that they have somebody with them when they're going and looking for their children's belongings or looking for their children. And so very emotional, but also just so tragic.
The relationship with Texas and the governor has been obviously very good for years with me, but the relationship with Texas and their first responders and us with our first responders and lots of other people, and we brought in a lot of helicopters from all over. We had a lot of helicopters. It was actually dangerous, a lot of helicopters up there, but they were real pros and they were responsible for pulling out a lot of people, and we got them there fast. And Texas had some good ones too, but the response has been incredible, and the fact that we got along so well, I don't even think that's a political thing, but we got along so well, and it was so unified. I think a lot of lives have been saved. That could have been as bad as it was, and you could have lost double or triple. This thing was just really horrible. Well, congratulations on a great job, and appreciate it. I know you're going down. I'll be going down on Friday with First Lady. We'll be taking a trip, and we don't want to get in anyone's way because that's what happens. The president goes, and everyone's around focused on. I don't want anyone to focus on us, but it's possible they could have somebody saved still. There's a lot of areas. It's a big area, and probably unlikely at this point. Still, there's a lot of areas. It's a big area, and probably
That's
unlikely.
weird. This is live and they just cut and
They're thinking there could be a
around.
possibility, but what a tragic situation. Good job, and we'll see you on Friday, and we'll finish out the day here. I think you've been reading a lot about it's a terrible topic when you talk about financial after this, but we have a big country and we've been doing very well. tariffs, as you know, are starting to come in at record levels. Tremendous amounts of money are coming in to our country. We never did that before. We're not used to it. We only have tariffs going out. We only adhered to the rules of other nations who charged us tremendous tariffs because we were led by stupid people or people without any business sense.
He's right.
And I'd like to ask God, you could maybe talk a little bit about how well we're doing with regard to the money coming in. And the big money will start coming in on August 1st. I think it was made clear today by the letters that were sent out yesterday and today. Go ahead, Chris.
Yes, sir. We will have taken in about $100 billion in tariff income thus far this year, and that's with the tariffs, the major tariff not having started till the second quarter. So we could expect that could be well over $300 billion by the end of the year. We don't agree with CBO scoring, but for those who do, the CBO scored tariff income over the next 10 years at 2.8 trillion, which we think is probably low. And, sir, under your leadership, we're witnessing.
And they gave us no credit during this last little, the great, big, beautiful bill. I always use the word great. I added to it because it really is
It
what it
is
is.
great.
Never been anything like it, actually. And I want to thank all the Republicans that voted for it. And
I don't need a
wanna,
homeless shelter,
scold
Chris.
the Democrats
Everybody
because
takes care
they're
of
voting
me.
for
You don't
tax
seem to
cuts, they're voting
understand.
for
I'm not
no
whining
tax on
about it.
tips,
I'm
no tax on
proud.
Social Security, no
You
tax
always
on overtime.
misunderstand me, Chris. Why?
You know, many, many other things far more important than that. Great health care. And frankly, every Democrat should lose their election because it was purely political.
I love
They were
being
told not to
homeless.
vote for it. So think of it. We got
I choose this life.
218 to 2. And then with the Senate, we had 50 to 3. Democrats didn't vote at all, not one positive vote, with all of the good things in there. Economic development money, tremendous
Tell 'em,
border
Donna.
money. Now you're loaded up on the border. And I don't think we're gonna need so much of it because we had zero come in last month, so I'm not sure how much of it we want to spend. You may actually think about saving a lot of money because the wall's been largely built and it obviously worked, but you may want to think about that. But, so I think it's incredible when I watch the Democrats and they have standard lines like they had Russia, Russia, Russia. They had the laptop from hell, it all came from Russia. You know, they make things up and they go with it and they feed it to you people in many cases. And they said, here's a line. And I hear the new line is death. Oh, it's death. Everyone's going to die. It's nothing to do with death. In fact, we're saving our country. Death is from
I'm not
allowing
dependent on
25
handouts, you
million people
loser.
into our country, of which 3 or 4 are stone cold, hard criminals. 11,888
I help
are
people
murderers,
everywhere
many
I
of
go,
them
Chris.
committing more than one
You
murder. That's
completely
death. And the
misunderstand.
Democrats did that. Joe Biden did that by allowing people to come in here just totally unchecked, unvetted, open borders, the whole world, our country. From mental institutions, we have many people walking the streets, walking in areas that we don't know anything about, that came out of insane asylums. They
Got a
released
great
their
car.
the insane asylum population into our country, and it's amazing the job that you and Tom Homan are doing, by the way, on that. But we have to get them out, and we have no choice. We have to get them out, and we are getting them out. And so, Pete, do you want to tell them about our great military and how well we did with respect to the bombers and the B-2? We had the pilots here.
Roger, our
2 days ago,
government
and
has
they
been
were incredible people.
decimated
Yes, sir.
from the past 50
Truly a
years. So
historic
if you had
mission
faith in
that
it,
demonstrated
where
the
have you
skill
been?
and courage of the United States military. From those B-2 pilots and families that we had a chance to meet, sir, to the fighter pilots, to the refuelers, to the maintainers,
Don't
to
tell
the
me
air
I'm old,
defenders who
Chris.
defended
You
the
get a
base.
life.
What was
I
demonstrated
don't need
on
a
the world
stable
stage was
job. This is
American
my
military might
job.
and
You're a
capability.
loser.
And it
I don't
wasn't just
depend on
Fordo
anybody
and
but
Esfahan and
myself.
Natanz that took notice in Iran. It was the rest of the world that we have
You know
a
nothing
decisive
about me.
commander-in-chief willing to use these capabilities, which are the best in the world,
Thank
as the
you,
president
Debs.
pointed out.
Thank
no
you,
one
my
else could have
friend.
done what America did there on that night, and everyone took notice of that. With the one big beautiful
How
bill,
many
sir,
books have
we've
you
got
written, Chris?
$150 billion additional to invest in Golden Dome and all the other weapon systems and stockpiles and shipbuilding priorities of yours. Another month, another historic recruiting bump. It's not just the Army and the Marine Corps anymore, it's the the Navy, the Air Force, and the Space Force all historically ahead of where they've ever been.
Right,
so
Rob?
historic spirit inside the military. We had a chance to be at NATO, Marco and I, and see how
Maybe you're at
the world responds to us saying it's time for you to shoulder the burden and take the lead for your continent. It only happens with President Trump leading, and we're proud to be a part of what's going on at the border, sir, with now a fourth
Here you go,
national defense
Victoria.
area where we're helping get to that number 0 and securing the border. But
right.
that mission, Operation Midnight Hammer, re-established deterrence. It reversed what happened in Afghanistan. You saw the debacle of what Biden allowed to happen in Afghanistan, and what that did to
We got
our
charged
image.
for that, Des.
President Trump said,
We got
with
gators.
Operation Midnight Hammer, we're reestablishing American leadership and deterrence, and we're proud to be a part of it, sir.
And our so-called enemies were watching. They watched every minute of it. They
Yeah.
watched, there was very few people that weren't watching, actually. But they watched every minute. It was a perfect military performance, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long time. I mean, if you compare that to the same country, the hostages from years ago, Jimmy Carter, it was unfortunate for Jimmy Carter. He was a nice man, but with the helicopters going down, the sandstorms, the prisoners, they got captured, then the election and the prisoners and Reagan and all the problems. It was nothing but problems. And that was a failure. And ours was not only the pilots, I mean, those machines flew for 37 straight hours. They didn't stop. They went skedaddle. You know the word skedaddle? It means skedaddle. They dropped the bombs and somebody said, skedaddle. Let's get the hell out of here. And every bomb hit its mark and hit it incredibly. And as you know, the Atomic Energy Commission said it's
Love you,
gone.
Debs.
That place is gone. We had a lot of fake reporting, mostly from CNN, where the scammer a writer for CNN, who should be fired, by the way, she was involved with the 51 fake intelligence agents, if you remember that. She did that story, created a story out of it. She created a story out of the laptop from hell, saying it came from Russia, but it actually
Welcome,
came from
Des.
Hunter Biden's bedroom, or worse. Just a scammer, and she's still at CNN, which is pretty amazing. But we'll ask you a question about her. But they came up with this concept that maybe the attack wasn't that good. Maybe, and I saw it happen right after the attack. I saw this person on CNN. I like to watch the enemy. You learn from the enemy. And I watch because you have to know where they're coming from. And I watched her say, Anderson, I'm hearing stories that maybe they didn't hit their target. Maybe it wasn't that good a hit. And they were hearing stories. The next day it was a little more, and the next day a little more. After 3-4 days.
Try harder, Paul.
She was saying, I don't know. I don't think it was that. Except by that time everybody knew it was hit perfectly. The evidence is in the planes. The pilots are their best evidence. But they actually came out of their plane because they were here the other day and they said, it was so sad. We did such a good job. We flew into very dangerous airspace. I'll never forget, we were in the Situation Room, and they said they have entered Iranian airspace, and everyone took a deep breath because they had more missiles pointed at them, but the equipment is so good, it's stealth, way up in the air, and it was stealth, and they went right through that, and they sort of, by the time they found out they were there, they were already gone. That was the word skedaddle, get the hell out of here. But they were right in the most dangerous airspace in the world, and they took those big, beautiful, very fast, they're unbelievable planes. I mean, they become really beautiful works of art. I always thought they sort of were cool, but now they look better than just cool, don't they, huh? But they dropped the loads, and literally they would hit, if you look at this table, from here to there, they had a half a refrigerator door is the way to best explain it. Take a refrigerator door, average size, cut it in half. That was their target. They hit every single one. Then we had
True, baby,
30
true,
missiles,
indeed.
Tomahawk, shot from submarines 300 miles away. Every one of them hit their target. It was a perfect mission. Then they came back, almost 37 hours. Every plane worked perfectly. The mechanics were here too. I said, you got to get the mechanics here. We didn't have any problems. If you remember, they had a lot of problems with the helicopters, but they did fly through a dust storm, which they shouldn't have done. Sometimes you say, let's go back and try it on a nicer day. Dust and sand don't work well with helicopters if you know much about helicopters, but that was a horrible embarrassment. We had Afghanistan, which I think is the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, and we would have gotten out I was the one that got him down. I would have kept Bagram, the big air base, which right now is controlled by China, one among the most powerful runways in the world, thick with concrete and anything could land. And right now, we're away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. I was keeping it. Outside of that, we were leaving, and I would have been out faster than them, but we would have gotten out with strength and dignity. Instead, that was the most botched up mess I've ever seen. They left that equipment behind, and every down State Street with the equipment, it's supposed to be Fifth Avenue, it doesn't work. But with all that equipment that they left, they should have taken every ounce of it. I was taking I said every screw, every bolt, every nail you take out of there. And they said, I remember when, so we're better off leaving the equipment. Why? Well, it's cheaper. I said, cheaper to leave a $150 airplane rather than heading into Pakistan or India or someplace, or just flying it straight home is cheap. Yes, sir. That's when I knew he was an idiot. Didn't take long to figure that one out. But they left all that equipment, but they left the dignity behind. It was the most embarrassing moment, in my opinion, history. Not that we got out, we should have not been there, but that we got out the way we got out with great embarrassment and death. You had 13 jokes at the other side, people were killed. Many people are walking around with no legs, no arms from that whole thing. They left from the wrong airport. They should have left from Bagram, because Bagram was a big base with hundreds of miles of fencing and territory around it. Nobody would be able to get near it. They left. So, we've done a great job, and I think people are really starting to see it. They're starting to appreciate it. Pete's done fantastically. That mission was a work of art, and I have spoken to some of our perceived. I don't know. If
that right.
Said the same thing. Very impressive. It wasn't a thing that we didn't lose an engine. We didn't lose it. Just,
we love
they
your taco
landed
jokes.
and they were
They're
cheered.
so funny.
But the sad thing is they were cheered. The pilot said, we were a little concerned because when we got here, and we really have a corrupt media, and nobody really knows why. I mean, why would you want to have open borders and criminals pouring into our country? Why would you want to have men playing in women's sports, transgender for everyone? You'll have to figure that out. But some of you don't. I mean, I'm looking at some people, they love the country, but I look at other people and they can't. But we're really proud of our military. It was, and the people that maybe don't like us or want to play games with us, because I think that had you not had the situation in Afghanistan, I don't think Putin would have gone in. I think when Putin looked at how stupid and incompetent that operation was, he said, wow, this might be a chance.
The Donnas.
And we're dealing with him now too. We're not happy with Putin. I'm not happy with Putin. I can tell you that much right now, because he's killing a lot of people. And a lot of them are his soldiers and their soldiers, mostly. And it's now up to 7,000 a week. And I'm not happy with Putin. Okay, any questions? Yes.
Yes, sir. You just said that you're not happy with Vladimir Putin. Is there anything that you plan to do to act on that feeling of
Well, I wouldn't be telling you. Don't we want to have a little surprise? One of the things we did attack is that, and you asked that question, I didn't mean to be rude, but I'm in a rude because I'm looking at some of these crooked people up here. But your question was asked very nicely. But one of the things we did is we went over every fact. We wanted to get every fact straight. We wanted to have the distance straight, the number of pilots straight. Everything had to be correct, because this was a very important mission. If we failed on this mission, it was beyond obviously we had with Iran and Israel a lot of hatred, a lot of years and years of hatred, centuries of hatred. People have never seen anything like it. So we wanted to be correct with all our facts. So what I was doing is just asking. It would be great if the media would be correct with their facts. That's all we ask for. So go ahead. So finish it up.
Oh yes. Just returning back to Russia. If there's anything that you would signal about your displeasure with them.
Well, I'm very unhappy. There's no reason for this. It's turned out to be tougher, but it's only tougher And I will say, the Ukrainians were brave, but we gave them the best equipment ever made. We gave them the anti-tank busters that knocked out tanks. I mean, you just aim them in the direction of the tank and the tank is gone. We gave them missiles, the latest and the greatest. They were able to shoot down a lot of things that would have normally wiped out. Probably would have been a very quick war. It would have been a war that lasted 3-4 days, but they had the benefit of unbelievable equipment. And Europe gave them too. We gave them far more because
He's a real
Biden shouldn't
person,
have done that. He
Nourish,
should have
that's all.
equalized. And we should have given them the same, or we should have given actually less than Europe. It affects Europe much
You
more than us.
preferred
but
a
we're in there
puppet?
for
Is
over
that what you like
$300
to see
billion.
as a puppet?
Europe's in there for over 100 billion, but still, Europe gave a lot. And I will say this, the Ukrainians, whether you think it's unfair that we gave all that money or not, they were very brave because somebody had to operate that stuff. And a lot of people I know wouldn't be operating it, they wouldn't have the courage to do it. So they fought very bravely, but we gave them the best equipment in the world. We make the best military equipment by far. There's nobody close. You look at other equipment from other countries, it's not even close. That's why everybody wants to buy our equipment, and that's why we're going to step up these contractors
Cry
now that
harder,
make
Betty.
it, and they're brilliant, but
Cry
they make it
harder.
too slowly. And we have to step them up, Pete, and let them make it at a much higher rate. Unfortunately, we have to do that. But if you look at our Patriots, if you look at our
Matt can't even
Tomahawks,
spell.
if you look at our, what we do with tanks is, you wouldn't want to be driving a tank. You would feel nice and secure, but they are javelins, they're called. And
Right
I
with you,
gave them the
Josh.
javelins. Remember they said, Trump gave the javelins and Obama gave them
You
sheets.
can't understand it, Corey, because you're
Right?
dumb.
They called Obama at that time, Barack Hussein Obama, if you haven't heard. Did
Agreed,
a terrible
Jeffrey.
job. But that was a war that
Me
should have
too,
never happened.
Judd.
And a lot of people are dying, and it should end. And I don't know, we get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. It's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Do you want to say anything? Lindsey Graham has a sanctions
You mods
bill
are
on
doing a
March
great
9th.
job. Ooh, there she is, the queen troll
Senate was
herself.
passing and passed very, very tough sanctions. But yeah, I'm looking at
Can
it.
you sign that?
It's an optional bill.
He doesn't
It's
make
totally at
sense
my
to you,
option
Steve,
to
'cause
pass
you
it.
watch the
Totally at my
MSM.
option, and to terminate
You like
totally at my
lies.
option.
Steve likes lies.
And I'm looking at it very strongly.
Oscar likes lies too. Oscar prefers a
The
puppet.
Russell Economic Advisors released a new report saying that.
Oh, sure,
imported
Desmond,
goods,
you're the one who wants a
have actually
dictator.
decreased in price from December
I know, it's
through
not-
March.
Great, Judd.
Well, my question is, the Fed chairman, will the Fed
The
chairman
goat, right there, greatest of all time.
cause price increases?
President.
Are the prices just not
Chairman
passed
of the
through?
Fed?
Yes, exactly. Are the
You
prices-
do a better
Wait, you
job
didn't
than
just
I
get
do.
rid of the guy that called him the
Are
goat,
prices
did you, darling?
not
Be
passed through
careful.
yet?
Be
No, I think
careful.
what's happening is
Where's Judd?
everything's
Bring
evening
Judd
out.
back.
You know, when we
Get him back.
see what people don't
careful, you
understand,
guys.
the other
Darla,
countries have
Judd
been
is
charged-
good.
Almost every country.
Goat means greatest of all
charges us
time.
tariffs. We had deficits with everybody for
Bring
years.
him back.
for
Darla, be careful with
decades.
your moderating
And we
there,
were
my
like
friend.
this big model that
Don't take off good
that made
people.
bad deals with everybody. We rebuilt South Korea, and we stayed there. It's okay, we rebuilt it, and we stayed there. And they pay us very little for the military. I got them to pay billions of dollars, and Biden then canceled it when he came in. I said to South Korea, as an example, we give you free military, essentially, very little.
See, like bittersweet
And,
is a
I think you should
troll,
pay us $10
so you get rid of
billion.
bittersweet, not Judd.
And they went crazy. But they agreed to 3. So I got 3 with a phone call. And I was satisfied. I said, but next year we have to talk. And then we had a rigged election and we never got to talk. And you know what Biden did? They probably went to him and they said, listen, Trump treated us terribly and we shouldn't be paying
Bless you
anything.
too,
And he cut
Elsa.
it down to nothing. So that's what happens. It's ridiculous. That's the other thing. We're talking to countries about contributing to the military, not only just paying more in NATO, but contributing. We have 45,000 soldiers in South Korea. We have 45,000 soldiers in Germany.
Yeah, he's letting the whole
52,000
world know that he's in charge.
And
That's what's going on,
that's a
Pat
huge
Fresh.
economic
That's the
development
point.
for them. That's
Get it?
tremendous amount. That's like having a city. It's tremendous money for them, and it's a tremendous loss for us. So we're talking, in a very nice way, we're talking to them about it. It's very unfair. We supply the militaries to many very successful countries. I mean, South Korea is making a lot of money, and they're very good. They're very good, but, they should be military.
President Trump, can I ask you a question about Jerome Powell as well? And then the question to the Attorney General. Jerome Powell, and then I have a
Yeah,
question
you
to
gotta
the
be
Attorney
careful,
General.
Darla. You get rid of
Jerome
good
Powell, who
people.
you've been pressuring to lower interest rates. He's facing accusations of lying to Congress, which is a potential crime about the
Well, then he
opulent.
should resign. We should get somebody in there that's going to lower interest rates.
Do you want congressional
Why don't you
Republicans to
call
look
for
into-
his resignation?
Got that right,
Do you want
Josh.
congressional Republicans to investigate and pursue
Okay
and
with
punish?
me. I think he's terrible. I think, look, we're paying, I call him too late. T-O-O, too late, like Too Tall Jones for the Dallas Cowboys, right? Too
Thank
late.
you, Franz.
He's
We'll be
always late.
fine.
And he wasn't late with Biden before the election. He was cutting him
Goat
like
means
crazy. It didn't
greatest
help
of
too
all
much, did it?
time.
But he was cutting him like crazy before the election with Kamala.
Sure, Neerish.
And Biden, he was
Did-
trying to
did you
get
vote
them
for
in. I guess.
Kamala? You gonna
He was
call us,
recommended by somebody that worked
gullible?
for me.
Did you vote for
I like you
Biden?
better.
Who's gullible? It's not us.
The Attorney General question too, President.
Sure.
Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some
Sure,
lingering mysteries.
criminal. Sure,
One of the
Marissa.
biggest ones
That would be
is
Biden.
whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the staff?
Yeah, sure. If I
Pam,
could,
could I just interrupt for
Sure.
1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration. But you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was,
Blonde voted
"It's
for Biden."
sitting on my desk to be reviewed," meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video,
Sure, David.
they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every year, every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
That's not it on Epstein. I'm sorry, but that's not it.
What incentives do countries have to negotiate? It seems that deadline keeps moving. They were second now.
We didn't move, no. It's always been August 1st.
Get rid of the
That's all we
loser
had.
blonde.
A statement was put out today, and I put it out just to make it clear. It wasn't a change, it was August 1st. We don't change very much, every time we put out a statement, they say, he made a change. I didn't make a change. Clarification, maybe. No, August 1st they pay.
Good job,
And
darling.
everybody pays.
Welcome back,
Everybody has to
Judd.
pay. And the incentive is that they have right to deal in the United States. If they don't want to, they don't have to pay, and they don't have to deal here. But if they want to buy and make a lot of money and sell in the United States, they have to do that. If you go back and look at some of the good presidents, our country was the wealthiest, proportionately the wealthiest, from 1870 to 1913. It was an all-tariff country.
So true, Ginger.
We didn't have
We're
income
such
tax. That came,
disgusting people.
that came in 1913, we had tariffs. And we had so much money, we didn't know what to do with it. We had, we had a couple of presidents that were very, very strong. McKinley, I guess, more than anybody.
Do you prefer
but he was a
Biden?
tariff. He was very, very strong. It's sort of sad. He made a fortune for this country, became very rich. And then Teddy Roosevelt went out and vice president.
You didn't
and he
have to
spent the
hide,
money.
Pete.
President that's a little bit different and a little tougher on this subject, and they're willing to drop everything they've been charging us for years and years. I mean, we have countries going, we will have you don't have to pay any tariff to come in and do business.
Cheryl has a point.
They're giving us total access to their countries. They gave us no access to the country. They say, well, you cannot go into our country. Okay, good. Now we will give you total access and you don't have to pay any tariffs. But please don't charge us tariffs. So the letters I send out are, we get a lot more deals.
How's that, Donna?
It's just too time consuming. It just makes it more
Is
complicated.
it better now?
And we do things over the years too. You know, we're not hard line, but it's about time the United States of America started
Difficulty.
countries that were ripping us off, laughing behind our back at how stupid we were. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. President, on the tariff issue, so you've talked about India coming, but then a couple days ago, you issued a new tariff threat to members of the BRICS countries for,
Yeah.
if they aligned with anti-American policies.
10% charge.
That would be India, Brazil,
That's
Russia,
right, they have to pay
South
10% if they're in BRICS. Because BRICS was set up to hurt us. BRICS was set up to
Is it better now?
degenerate our dollar and take our dollars to standard, take it to standard. That's okay if they want to play that game, but I can play that game too. So anybody that's in BRICS is getting a 10% charge.
Is that immediate, sir, or is
Yeah,
that
pretty soon.
if they engage in something?
Hang on.
10% tariff. Just that one thing. And then we get them
No,
all.
it buffered.
I thought BRICS was, I said
Is it
this
better now?
about a year ago, and it largely broke up. But, there are a couple that hang around, but I thought it largely broke up. BRICS is not, in my opinion, not a serious threat. But what they're trying to do is destroy the dollar so that another country can take over and be the standard. And we're not going to lose the standard at any time. If you have a smart president, you will never lose the standard. If you have a stupid president like the last one, you would lose the standard. You wouldn't have the dollar as you. And if we lost that would be like losing a war, major world war. We would not be the same country any longer. We're not going to let that happen. The dollar, you ever hear the expression, dollar is king? The dollar is king. We're going to keep it that way, okay? And I'm just saying, if people want to challenge it, they can, but they're going to have to pay a big price. And I don't think any of them are willing to pay that price.
Thank you, Mr. President. Are you optimistic about reaching a tariff deal with the European Union soon?
Well, the European Union has been speaking to us, Ursula and the whole group, and they've been very nice. They treated us very badly until recently. Now they're treating us very nicely. It's like a different world, actually. They've treated us very badly. They were among the toughest to deal with. Actually, in many respects, they were much worse than China. Look at what they do to our companies. They sue Apple.
Thanks, guys.
They sue Google. 17 billion they got from Apple on a lawsuit that they didn't have a case. They have, judges that are European Union judges. And they take so much money away from our country in terms of that, in terms of other things that they do. They're very tough, but now they're being very nice to us, and we'll see what happens. We're probably 2 days off from sending them a letter. We are talking to them. I just want you to know, a letter means a deal. A lot of people say, we got 200 countries. We can't meet with 200 countries. We have a few trusted people that know what they're doing, that are doing a good job, but you can't do it. You have to do it in a more general way, but it's a very good way. It's a more powerful way. And we sent them a letter. You read the letter. I think it was well crafted. Mostly it's just a little number in there. You'll pay 25%, 35%. We have some at 60, 70. Those are ones with massive, where we have massive trade deficits because they've treated us very badly.
Hi, Webster.
But I would say in every case, I'm treating them better than they treated us over the years. Don't you agree with that? I
not
could have
outside.
I could have been much harsher. I don't want to do that. We want to have relationships, but in every case, they treated us far worse than I'm treating
it's a
them.
bad
I'm treating them
picture.
very
Sorry,
good. I could go
guys.
higher with the tariffs, but I don't want to hurt them. That's why when you just read it, you come up with the number. It's so incredible that prices are actually going down. Just so you know, when I got in, everyone said, "Oh, Eggs are going through the roof. That was the first, I was in
Good
for about 4
question,
days and they started
Ginger.
screaming at me about eggs. They said, that's Biden's problem. I didn't know about eggs. But eggs went up about 5 times. You did a fantastic
Au
job.
revoir.
And we ended up shortly getting, in fact, for Easter, they said, go out and buy plastic eggs. You can't use real eggs. Well, we bought 200,000 eggs for the White House, for the Easter egg hunt that we have at the White House, and there were eggs. We had the price down, and now the price is lower than it was before. We did a good job with eggs, but we did a good job with groceries. Our prices are down in this country. A big part of it's oil. The oil, you had a couple of places last week, you had $1.99 for oil, for gasoline. Nobody thought they'd see that. I want to get it lower if I can.
Yeah, that's a
But
50-cent
we've done a
word.
good job. You've done a very good job. Do you want to say a couple of words about that, you and Chris, about what's happening with energy?
Well, absolutely, but I would say on the pricing side, President Trump, the fact that you've endorsed and supported a policy of energy dominance, that sends a signal to the market that we're going to have more supply. You talked during the campaign about inflation being a country buster. You've broken the back of inflation in 6 months, among all the other things you've accomplished.
We have no inflation.
And we've got, and then heading into the 4th of July, these are the lowest gas prices at the pump in 4 years. And again, for Americans, this is like hundreds of billions of dollars that stay in their pockets because we lowered the price of gas at the pump. When we lower the price of energy, it lowers the price of food.
You're right,
It lowers
Paul.
the price of the clothes you wear.
It's the biggest thing.
It's
I
the
know, I
biggest
hate
thing.
It's
this
like a
movie.
big tax cut. When you get energy down, every 50 cents is like a massive tax cut, and we've gotten it down much below that. You know, we had great energy, great low prices, everything
agree,
else. When
Ginger.
the election turned over, I'm trying to be nice about it. It turned over, shockingly, but nevertheless, it happened. Energy started going up, and it went up really bad, and then he went back to the Trump policy. The problem was they didn't know how to do that, and he lost it. He lost that sucker. That big sucker was out of control, and his energy prices went way up, and that's what caused it. But it was also stupid spending. They spent money like, they used to use the term drunken sailors, but I won't use that term. Although it is very descriptive, I won't use that term. I refuse to use it. But they spent money at levels that nobody had ever seen before, and trillions and trillions of dollars wasted on the Green New Scam, greatest scam in the history of our country, other than maybe Russia, that might have been. But the Green New Scam was the single greatest scam in the history of our country, and continues to be, but it's weakened badly. It's hobbling along because people are they're finally getting it. But they spent trillions of dollars on the Green New Scam, getting nothing for it. Devised by a couple of young people that weren't even good college students, you know? Not even good students. Check out their marks. Yeah? No, not for CNN. Not for CNN. Go ahead.
In the last jobs report, Mr. President, in the last jobs report, the manufacturing jobs actually lost 7,000 jobs. When will the investments that you've been talking about have an effect on
They're
manufacturing?
building the plants
Uncle Artie
now.
misses all the
About
illegals.
7 have started. We're going to
He
have
wants them
hundreds
back.
started within a short period of time. Lee Zeldin, who may be the most important man in this room, I'm sorry, but he's the one that gets the permits. Where is Lee? He's the one that has to get the permits for the plants and the factories, and permits that used to take 5 years, he's getting in record-setting times. AI, we're leading China a lot in AI, and if we go with this, you know, I'm allowing the plants to build their own electric. I'm allowing them
Great
to
point,
become
Danielle.
an electric utility, so they can produce their own electricity, because we need double to be successful with AI, which is the biggest thing now.
That's what he's
We
doing,
need double
Artie.
the electricity that we have, which is hard to believe. We need even more than that. And they're building plants with their own electricity substations. They don't have to use the grid. And anything they build extra, they're putting
Edward
into the
misses
grid.
the
So we're supplying the
MS-13
grid
gang
with
members.
brand new electric sources. And you know, it's funny, when they came to see me, they never even asked for that. I told them about it.
Lena's
The
a
reason they didn't, they
judge
thought that was an
of people's
impossibility.
hair.
You're not allowed to build your own electric. These are massive investments that are
Lena
being
has
made in
perfect hair.
building electricity for their plants. And they're gonna have, I think, Doug, a lot of electricity left over. And that electricity is
But
gonna be
Jason knows
passed
who
into
is
the
scum
grid
of the
and
earth,
give us
right?
no
You're a
more,
judge,
you know,
too.
like, you look at California, They have blackouts and brownouts every week. They're totally out of control. They have a really incompetent governor. Where's Chris? Is he here? You want to speak to the subject?
Yeah, I think a huge thing in the One Big Beautiful Bill, Mr. President, because of your leadership, is the ending these subsidies, as you call them, the Green New Scam. That saves our country $500 billion over the next 10 years. American taxpayers were paying twice. They were paying that money, $500 billion in the subsidies, and they were paying more expensive electricity price. If you subsidize something, you should at least lower the cost of it. But in this case, we were subsidizing something and paying more for it.
And well, he
So
should,
the
Rebecca.
One Big Beautiful Bill had two huge things.
You're not gonna
Ending
do it.
wasteful spending. Wind, solar, and batteries combined are 3% of U.S. total primary energy. 3%. For $1 trillion, another $500 billion coming. That's just not a good investment, hurting our businesses, hurting our consumers. And the One Big Beautiful
Yo,
Bill
David.
also unshackled oil, gas, and coal development in the
BE
United
has perfect
States,
hair, too.
onshore and offshore. Secretary Burgum has been working tirelessly on how, by getting the government out of the way,
Why
private
does everyone
businesses will
judge
develop
other
more
people
resources
on
in the
their
United
looks?
States,
So
lowering costs
rude.
for American consumers and making much better leverage for the United States to help our allies abroad and reduce the power of our adversaries abroad. So just a huge
He's a
win in
servant
energy front
president,
all around, and I thank you for your
atheist.
leadership.
You apparently don't even believe in God, so we can't really listen to what you have to
There'll be
say.
nothing compared to what they'll be in about a year from now, but we're setting records. And wind is a very expensive form of energy. It's very bad for your beautiful surroundings, the plains,
You know,
and the
Chris, you know
valleys.
nothing
The
about
birds are dying all over the place. You know, the whole thing is a disaster. They're almost exclusively made in China.
I've never broken a bone
Not
in
that
my
I have
body
anything
ever.
against China, because I don't have a great relationship with President Xi, but I asked him, how many wind farms do
Hey,
you have?
Leonardo.
He makes them, but they don't have a lot of wind farms, I'll tell you, very, very few.
Bye, Jason.
And,
Jason judges everyone.
tremendously
Jason's the smartest person in the world.
And is very ugly, and if you own a house that's inside of a windmill, your house is worth less than half, and you hear noises, and interestingly, in New England, you probably read where.
I'm not over age
For
60.
50 years, they had 2 whales washed up, 50 years, and last summer, they had
Not even
14
60.
washed up. Now, I'm not saying that's the wind farm that was built, but maybe it is, right? Probably is. It's tremendously expensive, and it can only be done with subsidy. You know, I know a man that's in that business,
Wow,
and
Victoria.
one of the biggest in the world actually runs a company that builds these stupid windmills. And he said, I hate the business because it's the only energy where you need subsidy. He said, energy shouldn't need subsidy, you should make money with
Ginger
energy.
wants
So
me to
when-
live with her.
The other one is the solar, those big solar fields. They're taking our farmland, our farmers are like mortified by it, they hate it. It's very, very inefficient and very ugly too. You know, probably better than a windmill, but you go around and you see all these things that are 3 miles
I don't
long
judge
by 3
anyone.
miles wide, and you say, what the hell is that? It's a lot of plastic
James
from
judges
China.
everyone.
It's plastic, black plastic from China. No, we want to be smart. We're going with.
I worship God, Rebecca. Who do you
Yeah,
worship?
look, China right now is building 58 coal-fired plants, 58 big ones. They have 62 on the books
Agree
to
about the
build.
wind farms. They're horrible.
We've reintroduced
Judge back.
clean, beautiful coal, because you know, you can do a lot with
Me
coal.
too,
now.
Judge, me
Clean,
too.
beautiful coal, and natural gas, and all of the other things that we have. But we don't want wind, and we don't want solar, because they're a blight on our country. They hurt our country very badly, and smart countries don't use it. Solar
true,
sounds good, I will say, and I like, on occasion, you'll see a roof which is made of solar brick, but it's a smaller
Richard
use.
knows.
We need the kind of thing that's going to fire up our plants.
Well, I guess I'll find
And
out.
it's not going to be wind, you know, that it's very intermittent, as you probably know. But they've spent a fortune. They've spent trillions of dollars on this stuff. And I'll just give you one other story. A friend of mine is a very successful guy. He went back to see his mother in Minnesota. He hadn't seen her in a long time. And he wasn't back for 10 years, which isn't a nice story. I mean, you don't see your mother for 10 years. She's got some difficulties, which I know the guy, he does have some difficulties. He's very successful, but probably not the nicest person. It was actually longer than 10 years, but he went back and he told me he
Thank
wanted
you,
to go look at
Roman.
the valley. There's a valley in Minnesota that he thought was so beautiful. And I hadn't seen it in a long time. He's driving along the road. He said, oh my I'll use the word gosh, oh my gosh. He said, oh, he said it looked like a junkyard. You had 159 windmills, they were all over the place. Some were old, some were newer, different companies, different shapes, different sizes, different colors. Many of them were terminated.
Clickbait's
Terminated
name
meaning closed.
says it all.
You can't take them down because the environmentalists don't let you bury the blades because they're made out of a fiber they say is bad for the earth. So they want you to put them up, but they don't let you take them down. But many of them were turned off. He said it looked like a junkyard. Go to Palm Springs, California, and take a look at that pile of junk. And you go into a wealthy neighborhood. Before you get there, you have to
No,
ride
that's right.
through hundreds of windmills that are, most of them are turned off. They're rotting, they're rusting, they're 30 years old, 20 years old. And they have a very short life. You know, those windmills have a very short life, especially the ones that are in the nice salty Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean where the salt just gets under that steel and decimates it. No, it's a horrible, horrible thing for our country.
I love how well
And
Rebecca
I
knows
speak out. It
everyone.
would be nice to say wind, because it
She's the
sounds so
utmost
good, doesn't it?
authority.
Like wind, but it's not. It's these other machines, and they're all made, you gotta see, some are a little taller, a little shorter, they're made by different companies, they have different stocks, they have different blades, they have different everything. It is so horrible. And if you look at smart countries, they don't use it. Smart countries don't use it. And we're now a smart country. We're a brilliant country. We're not smart, we're brilliant now. We're gonna be a brilliant country. We have to be because we have to catch up for some really stupid people that did a bad job. Yes, Brian?
Yes, Mr. President, I've got a quick comment and feedback as a native Texan, someone that I grew up bringing my kids to a camp very near.
We're so lucky
the
Rebecca's here.
affected
She
camp
knows
now.
everything.
Thank
She
you on
quotes all
behalf
the
of the
facts.
Texans. I've gotten
We
hundreds
beat her.
of messages that want to thank. If you're in the cabinet room, you can tell the president and his team, on behalf of Texans,
Big
thank
Mac,
you so
look at what
much
you just
for
wrote.
the quick response and the loving, the hugs.
You
I
make a
saw that
mockery of
you gave.
yourself.
Two quick questions.
I saw a Palestinian senator. His name is Schumer. He's a great Palestinian. No, he's a Palestinian.
He's a
He's
good
become a
Palestinian.
Palestinian. He's abandoned the Jews. But I saw him say, it's Trump's fault. Yeah, that's right. It's Trump's fault. He was actually, do you
I
ever
don't
see
know. I guess
John
we'll
Lovett's
find
The
out,
Liar?
Elsie.
Where he goes, yeah, I went to Harvard, that's right. This was Schumer. He goes, yeah, it's Trump's fault, that's right, it's Trump. I actually saw that stupid guy
Considering I
trying to
do
blame
this
it
all
on
the
me.
time.
And I said, man, that's a tough one to take. But his career is limited because I hear AOC is going to beat him, and she's no bargain either, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well,
I
this is
started
an
out
example of
Jewish.
America First team effort to bring.
I
the
gotcha,
country
Adam.
back. So that's what America First looks like for the viewers watching us at home. My two questions. Looks like we have a rogue judge, an Obama-backed rogue judge that is attempting to block the funding to Planned Parenthood, which the big beautiful bill cuts
Clickbait
off the funding
continues
to
to tell
Planned
us who he
Parenthood. Any
is.
plans to challenge that?
Absolutely. Yes, we're on it. We're on it. And I texted, I believe, I talked to yesterday
Back at you,
Secretary
Adam.
Lutnick and Secretary Besson. I reached out to you to let you know that we were on it in the big beautiful bill.
Wonderful. And then my
I
second.
let her handle that question. You notice? I said, go ahead, handle that question.
Toss it to her. Then my second question was Secretary Rollins. You did an amazing press conference today in front of the Department of Agriculture. You talked about the Farm Act and the need to get China out of our country, owning farmland. For the viewers at home that might have missed that, can you recap what that means to national security to make sure we can grow our own food?
Well, thank you, Brian, sir, if you don't mind. Yes, this morning Secretary Hegseth, Secretary Noem, and Attorney General Bondi and I had a press conference at the USDA. I just happened to have a chart in case it came up, but obviously the Chinese owning of farmland.
Have you guys
in our
noticed that
country
MAGA women
is
are
a
incredibly
massive
beautiful?
national security
All of them.
issue. And for the media, you can see the yellow is where all of the farms have been purchased over the last number of years, and the red is around all of the military bases where that farmland has been purchased. So this is a massive national security issue. The press conference this morning included 3 of our greatest governors as well, Sarah Sanders from Arkansas, Jim Pillen from Nebraska, and Bill Lee from Tennessee. The states have begun taking a leadership role to ban the purchasing of China farmland. Obviously, Congress needs to step up and catch up, and we're going to be working alongside of them as well. We had some of our members, great members of Congress there, but it is time, and I think that this morning was symbolic of many things. The first of this administration working every day to effectuate President Trump's leadership and unequivocal support of America first. But second, just how close we are as a cabinet. I don't know in any other administration that you'd have 4 cabinet members at the USDA on a Tuesday morning when it's about 110 degrees outside with the sun beating down on us talking about Sir Your Vision. So I think it was a great day. It was just the start. There's an executive order coming and some other things coming behind that. But protecting America's farms isn't just about protecting our farmers. It's also about national security. So that's what we discussed this morning.
I think we have had a really good relationship with China lately, and we're getting along with them very well.
All right, Scully, you're not allowed to be nasty to people, so
Very
you're
fair on our
done.
trade deal, honestly.
What a jerk.
And I hope we're going to have a great relationship. It's a big, strong, powerful country. We're more powerful than they are. We have much better military equipment than they do. But we are getting along with them very well. I'm getting along with President Xi very well. We speak often. And with all of that being said, and I understand what you're saying, but I think we're getting along with China very well.
Mr. President, you send more weapons to Ukraine, as you said last night. Last week, the Pentagon paused some shipments of weapons to Ukraine. Did you approve of that pause?
We want to put defensive, as Putin is not, he's not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people. So
I know
we're
you
sending
can, Ginger.
some defensive weapons
We look out
to
for each other.
Ukraine, and I've approved that.
Love you,
So who ordered
sister.
the pause last week?
I don't know, when you tell me.
I think that's a question for the
Go ahead.
Mr.
Yeah.
President, on immigration, the Secretary, the Agriculture Secretary did say this morning that
Joe Snow
undocumented workers would not be
first,
covered
Joe
by the
Blow.
amnesty of who are working on farms. You had said
Hi,
maybe
Brian.
the ISA folks won't go after those folks on farms. So which
No,
is it?
there's no amnesty. What we're doing is we're getting rid of criminals, but we are doing a work program. Do you want to explain that, please?
Yeah, this morning we talked about, of course, this was a top of mind question. This morning we talked about protecting the farmers and the farmland, but obviously this president's vision of no amnesty,
That's
mass
right, Adrian.
deportation continues, but in a strategic way, and then ensuring that our farmers have the labor that they need. Secretary Chavez-DeRimmer has been a leader on this. Obviously, this comes out of the Labor Department, but moving toward automation, ensuring that our farmers have that workforce, and moving toward an American workforce. So all of the
We've got
above.
to give the farmers the people they need, but we're not talking amnesty. Lori, do you want to say
Agreed,
something?
Judd.
about
Yeah,
that?
thank you, Mr. President, on this. Thank you, Secretary Rollins, how important this is never to displace the American worker. What the Department of Labor is doing is focusing on what the law entails now, being more modernized, more
Poor Rebecca.
streamlining, to work through the H programs. We're going to have a concierge
Right.
approach to that, where we have.
I want to know more, Adrian, for real.
Developed a new office to
I'm
answer the
fascinated.
need of our farmers and ranchers and producers and not to displace the American worker and follow within the law now. And that does not include an amnesty program at all. And that working and we'll continue to have that roll out. On the other topics that we somewhat talked about, the jobs numbers, Mr. President, 4 months in a row, we've seen those jobs numbers increase. That's an exciting time for our manufacturers. That was asked earlier. We know it's going to take some time, but through that deregulation process that Lee and I are working on as well, the Department of Labor has rolled out 63 new deregulations that we're going to be moving through. In the first Trump administration, it was successful with over 30. We've just rolled out 63 new ones in order to double down on those manufacturing companies to let them know that we have signaled
Hey, Brian.
through this process that we will assist them
I
in
know,
getting
right,
the
Freedom?
workforce that they need. It's an exciting time. That one big beautiful bill, that was the signal to my former colleagues in Congress to get this done. It's been an important time. I spent time on the ground visiting 7 states in 9 days prior to that bill being passed because it was the most pro-worker piece of legislation that we will ever see really in this country right now.
Chinese
No tax
love
on tips,
baseball.
no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. That matters to the American worker because we don't want to take their money and give it back. We want them to keep more of their hard-earned dollars in their pockets currently, and
Good
that's what they're
question,
excited
Bill.
about. And as I move forward with these tariff talks, I heard a company say to me, for the first time since you have taken office, Mr. President, their increase in their bottom line by 8% since these tariff talks have happened. Not one company has said the president is not doing a good job. These tariff talks are working. They're feeling it on the ground. The media has told a false story because what's happening on the ground is positive, and that's what we're seeing in these jobs numbers. So I really, through the Department of Labor, come behind all the secretaries and build this workforce is going to be to the American worker. So thank you for what everybody did this last week. The One Big Beautiful Bill is a doubling down of this, and we're going to see these workers start to grow. And that apprenticeship program is going to be working.
That's
We'll
right.
have that million apprentices across the country.
As you know, we're building plants all over the country now, which you weren't building any plants 4 years ago. You weren't building anything.
That's right,
But,
Brian.
those plants, when they open up, it's going to be, you'll see numbers like you haven't seen ever. I don't know in history, you'll never see numbers like see in the very near future. Many of them are building the plants. Some are just starting right now. You know, it's a brand new administration. But, and they wouldn't be here except for two things: November 5th, the election, and the tariffs. And
We all have
frankly,
flaws,
I
Brian.
guess the
We're
election was
human,
more
and
important
so is
because
he.
of the tariffs. I mean, another person wouldn't have done this. But they're coming in because of the tariffs. They have to, they're not going to pay 25, 30, 40, 50%, 70, and 100%. And we'll be announcing something very soon on pharmaceuticals. We're going to give people about a year and a half to come in, and after that, they're going to be tariffed and other things into the country. They're going to be tariffed at a very, very high rate, like 200%. We'll give them a certain period of time to get their act together. But they were all here now. They all left. They went to other places because we allowed people that sat in this room allowed it to happen. And I don't allow it to happen. The people in this room don't allow it to happen. So we're going to be announcing pharmaceuticals, chips, and various couple of other things, big ones. We did steel, as you know, they're 50%. We did aluminum, 50%. Lumber just came out.
That's copper.
And we did cars. And now, today, we're doing copper.
Copper, what would that tariff be on? The section of tariff?
I believe the tariff on copper would
Rebecca
make it 50%.
wants Kamala back.
Any breakthroughs in
I'm glad he
Gaza?
didn't question it.
Any breakthroughs?
I just sort of thought, what would that be? It's a quick one. I didn't have much time, but he agreed with me. That's why he's ours.
Any breakthroughs on Gaza
Okay,
with the
Rebecca,
Prime
you're so
Minister,
rude.
and there's-
You need to
And there's
leave. We're
reports that
done
you're
with
meeting
you.
with Netanyahu again tonight, is that accurate?
Yeah, he's going to come over. We're talking about Gaza, mostly Gaza right now. It's, he's been very unfairly treated. I think what they've done to him in Israel is very unfair, having to do with this trial. I think, he's a wartime prime minister, had an unbelievable outcome, and I think he's been treated very unfairly. But he's coming over later. We're going to be talking about, I would say, almost exclusively Gaza. We got to get that solved. Gaza is it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. And he wants to get it solved, and I want to get it solved, and I think the other side wants to get it solved. Steve, could you talk on that, please?
We're in proximity talks now, and we had 4 issues down to 1 after 2 days of
Sorry
proximity
about the
talks.
sound, you guys.
We are hopeful that by the end of this week, we will have an agreement that will bring us to a 60-day ceasefire. 10 live hostages will be released. 9 deceased will be released. We're meeting at the president's direction with all the hostage families to let them know. And we think that this will lead to a lasting peace in Gaza.
You're doing a good job. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. A lot of hate, It's called long-term hate. But we think we're going to have it solved pretty soon, hopefully with a real solution, a solution that's going to be holding up.
And can I follow up? First cap, since he
I get more than $20 an hour.
He's now saying he's going to create a third political party. Are you worried about the impact that that could have?
No, I think it'll help us. It'll probably help. Third parties have always been good for me. I don't know about Republicans, but for me.
He's working on it,
Are you saying he
Nikki.
hasn't made the cuts that Doe made since you
No,
described him as
no.
all
Look,
the rails
look,
the
we
other day?
got hundreds of billions of dollars with those. We could have done it differently. I would have done it differently a little bit maybe, but it was something that we saved a lot of money. You can always second guess. I guess some people in this room maybe would have done it slightly differently, and some would have done it exactly the way it was done. But it was dramatic and it was important, and we found a lot of things like billions of dollars to people for environmental protection where they had $100 in the account, like in Atlanta, Stacy. And then you had another one with 20 billion here, and 20 billion here, and 2 billion here, and 15 billion. And Lee, you might want to mention just a couple of those things. We really got because of those.
At the Trump EPA, the One Big Beautiful Bill was filled with many big beautiful wins for the taxpayer. It delivered a sledgehammer to the Green New scam. Billions of dollars rescinded. It's a big deal for the American taxpayer who sees money go through pass-throughs that are filled with self-dealing and conflicts of interest. They see unqualified recipients. They see reduced agency oversight, and they want accountability with their tax dollars, and they got it. In the example of the Stacey Abrams connected NGO, they received $100 in 2023. They got $2 billion in 2024. Complete training on how to develop a budget that was put into their grant agreement. They, out of nowhere, started paying a CEO $800,000, a COO $450,000, 22 people making over 150 grand. Out of nowhere, tax dollars. So money go through pastors, through other pastors, through other pastors, and we lose oversight over it. And you see that it's going to former Biden officials, it's going to former Obama officials, it's going to Democratic donors. And we're not here saying we want to take money from a left-wing NGO and give it to a right-wing NGO. We want to give it back to the taxpayer. This is about us being good stewards of American tax dollars without any apology or regret. That's why President Trump was elected last November. Because there are a whole lot of people who maybe they hadn't voted Republican in a long time. Maybe they didn't even vote for President Trump the first time around in 2016, but they're regretting that vote from 2016 and they were making it right in 2024. So the One Big Beautiful Bill gave us the tools to rescind billions of dollars more. We're seeing hundreds of thousands of dollars that'll get wasted per electric vehicle. As an example of this money that was going through it. They gave $50 million to a group called Climate Justice Alliance. They say that climate justice runs through a free Palestine. The Biden EPA gave $50 million to a group that says the climate justice runs through a free Palestine. We say that if you're going to spend $1 in the name of remediating an environmental issue, then spend $1 on remediating an environmental issue. We say that we can protect the environment and grow the economy. We want to help grow more baseload power in this country. So why is it that it took this long for this team to get assembled, to be able to fix the mess that we inherited? But gosh, we love showing up at our jobs every single day, first thing in the morning, because all day long we get things done for the American taxpayer. And Congress did its part last week by passing One Big Beautiful Bill to deliver this accountability and to cut off the Green New scam. So maybe it's a bad day for Stacey Abrams. Maybe it's a bad day for all those well-connected Democrats getting paid off. But you know what? God bless America. Because at the end of the day, President Trump is here, J.D. Vance is here, and the Grace Cabinet ever assembled to deliver that much-needed and highly demanded accountability.
Mr. President, on Ukraine.
That was a very good.
I know, Richard, what is with the McDonald's? It's weird. They're the new bots, I guess, I don't know.
Germany and Dutch, Germany and the Netherlands have intelligence saying that. What does U.S. intelligence believe, and what do you believe about the use of chemical weapons? And would you agree that that's the case for?
Yeah, Coast Driver's water, good point, Richard. It's true, that's pretty mental.
Well, Mr. President, obviously, chemical
Good catch.
weapons, if it's documented and its use, it's illegal. It's against all international laws of armed conflict and treaties. And obviously, I can't share in this room with this audience the intelligence that I can share with you privately, but obviously, you're not going to stand
too, Debs.
or allow for any violations of international law by anyone.
That's right. Thank you. Could I ask Sean to Department of Transportation?
That's
Sean
right,
Duffy,
Ginger.
former great congressman, very popular. Decided to go make a couple of bucks. He made a lot. And he got bored with that, though. He likes serving people better, the people. And could I ask you to
These oil.
organization of our airport so that.
Right, it's a massive project. The FAA is not qualified to manage this kind of a project, so we are now going through the process of finding who that one company will be to manage the whole project. We'll interview.
I'm actually
those
not on
companies together,
Wi-Fi.
And make that selection. So we'll write one big beautiful check.
On T-Mobile.
That'll be responsible for this whole build, but I'm going to just make one last point. This is not enough money. We're going to need more. But this
Thanks,
is
Deb.
a massive new start, the biggest investment. We'll need some more money on top of it, but a great start from the big beautiful.
It's a starter. It was very important to us. And just to cover that, there have been accidents, and my pilots, I would often hear them say, "Oh, good," and they would use a different system, a different country to land in New York. They'd use the radar and other things from a different country. I said, "What's that?" He says, "Oh, our system is so bad." And I knew that would start. And Boot Edge came in, and what they did was so crazy because they hooked it copper into fiber, into steel, they had all different systems. They had hundreds and hundreds of contractors, different contractors for different airports, spent billions of dollars, and they made the system worse because you can't hook copper into fiber. That doesn't work that way. You just can't do it. It's not doable, but they tried to do it. Didn't work out too well. And in the end, it was just a complete disaster. We want to have one great company. Now, Raytheon's going to bid, IBM's going to bid. We have 5 or 6 bidders that really are good and do this stuff. And we want one, because I know about overruns. I look at the railroad out in California, headed up by one of the worst governors in our country, who I used to get along with actually, but he's just, when you lose 25,000 houses and you would have had your cities burned down. If we didn't step in, Los Angeles would have been burned to the ground. But you look at that, and I said, I really know how to build. And you got to have one guy, one contractor, one great one, whether it's IBM or Raytheon is good, but you have 4 or 5 that are really, really great, and they're all bidding against each other. But you don't want to have one doing the wire and one doing the digging and one doing the demolition and then they're all saying they all blame each other because they're saying they were late and therefore you have to pay me millions of dollars more money. I know the system so well, and we're going to have a great company do the whole thing. We're going to get a fantastic price. Maybe we'll get them, they're very big and very strong, and maybe we'll get them to make a contribution toward getting it done at the right price. But we're going to have a great system. When we finish, we will have the best system on earth done by one of the 2 or 3 best companies. There are only a few companies that can do this. This is not. But if you would have seen what this other group did, they were going crazy. They had, I heard 3,000 contractors. And then when it all came together, guess what? It didn't work. It's a disaster. So we're going to have in a pretty short period of time, it's going to take us about 2 years to build it. And we'll have a contract given out probably. We have some great bidders, some great companies that want to do the job. You're going to have great air traffic control.
Yes, can I just make one last point on this? So the last administration signed a contract with an American company to fix the copper to fiber, and that contract was a 15-year contract. The system is failing today, but that's how idiotic and incompetent the last administration was. And under your leadership, we're saying, listen, we don't have time. We don't have 15 years. We don't have 5 years. We have to do it right now. And so the president always talks about on time and on budget.
That's right.
We have embraced that. We are going to be on time and on budget. And by the way, you mentioned a train out in California. Stay tuned for probably give us 5 days and you'll have an answer on what's going to happen. $1 billion that we potentially have invested on a train that's going to go nowhere. It's going to be $120 billion that'll never connect San Francisco to LA. Again, the last administration wasted so much money on projects that never work. If you're going to have high-speed rail, you're going to invest billions. We should actually have high-speed rail in America, not boondoggles that fund political friends and allies and
They had from San Francisco, inside of San Francisco to inside of Los Angeles. It should have never been built because airplanes do it better. And you could drive it. You could drive it. No problem with driving it. The roads aren't even crowded. So they were going to do this. Somebody's idea. Somebody got paid off a lot of money, and they started it. It was going to cost a very small amount of money. and it ended up costing literally hundreds of times what the original. And now what they did is they said, well, going into the city is too big a deal, so we'll leave it 25 miles short of the city. So now they're leaving it, they're not going to finish it really, it's not the same project. So now they're leaving it outside of San Francisco and outside, short of each. They just want to get it done, and I've never seen cost overruns. You know, if you have a cost overrun of 10%, you should be ashamed of yourself. 20%, you should not do any more jobs. This is a cost overrun of 2,000%, something like that. It's unlimited, and it's not finished. And maybe it will never get finished. And I told Sean, look at it from every standpoint, but we don't want to, you know, we have federal money going into that, and it's like throwing it out the window. So whatever you can do to stop.
$15 billion and not one track has been laid. 15 billion, 16 years into the project, not one track.
Mr. President,
On New York, you're the most prominent Republican in the country from the city. What do you want to?
Anywhere else?
Well,
I don't want to be a wise guy. Perhaps I could. Maybe Marco.
How do you want Republican voters in the city to vote in the upcoming mayoral election? Should they vote for Eric Adams? Should they vote for Sliwa? Should they pick someone else?
Look, number one, you have a communist running, and you shouldn't vote for him. He's a disaster. He's leading. He's got the Democrat nomination because that shows you where the Democrats have gone. He actually wants to take over the grocery store. A great guy, a rich guy, grocer, does a good job, wants to take over. He actually called me the other day. He's concerned his stores are going to be taken from him, and they won't be run like John runs them, believe me. He runs a good operation, but he actually said he wants to run his own grocery stores. No, this is a man who's not very capable, in my opinion, other than he's got a good line of bullshit, and he's convinced them to go with him. Now, as you know, Cuomo, who does have capability, is running, but he got knocked out, and now they're running as, you have Eric Adams, the current mayor, you have Cuomo, and you have Curtis Sliwa. And Curtis runs every 4 years. He seems to be a fixture on the running scale. But you know, it's I'm not getting involved. I can tell you this. I used to say we will not ever be a socialist country, right? Well, I'll say it again. We're not going to have. If a communist gets elected to run New York, it can never be the same. But we have tremendous power at the White House to run places when we have to. We could run D.C. I mean, we're looking at D.C. We don't want crime in D.C. We want the city to run well. Susie Wiles is working very closely with the mayor, and they're doing all right. I mean, in the sense that we would run it so good, it would be run so proper. We'd get the best person to run it. The crime would be down to a minimal, would be much less. And, you know, we're thinking about doing it. To be honest with you, we want a capital that's run flawlessly, and it wouldn't be hard for us to do it. And we've had a good relationship with the mayor, and we're testing it to see if it works. But New York City will run properly. We're going to bring New York back. I love New York. You know, I loved New York for a long time. Then we had a bunch of crooked people in there. You have an attorney general who's a total stone cold crook.
New Yorkers moved to Florida.
That's
what happened.
They do whatever expeditious
Left all
for
the
them.
illegals behind.
And she's the one that took out Cuomo because she wanted to run for governor, and then she ended up getting 1% of the vote. She polled at 1%. She dropped out, went back to attorney general. You have a lot of crooked things going on in New York. We're going to straighten out New York. It's going to
Everybody
maybe we're going to
left
have to
New York.
straighten
It
it out
was
from
good.
Washington. But when I see a communist who has actually gotten a Democrat,
He has
pretty
great
much
love for
gotten
our
a
country,
Democrat
Angela.
nomination.
You have no
They also
clue.
went to that new form of voting, which is a beauty. You go in there in third place, you come out in first. That's that form of voting that they have gone to. You know what I'm talking about. It's not too good.
I lived in New York.
We're going to do something for New York. I can't tell you what yet, but we're going to make New York great again. Also, we're going to make it great again with
I
the
hope
country.
so.
What we've done in this country in the last 6 months,
Used to be
nobody
great.
has ever seen it. And I told the story. The king of Saudi Arabia, I was over there. They gave us $5.1 trillion between Saudi Arabia and UAE, Qatar. 3 stops, $5.1 trillion coming into our country as an investment, biggest investment ever made. And it's all going to good stuff. I mean, all real, big, good stuff. Energy projects, big, big things. But they all 3 told me essentially the same thing. We thought your country was dead.
Finger Lakes is beautiful.
And now you've got the hottest country in the world. We're right now riding the hottest country we know, and you can all be proud of it. We're in the hottest country. This is the hottest country in the world. There's nobody close. Made hotter by some great pilots and great machines that nobody else has. Those great, big, beautiful machines, they rode those machines right into the toughest territory, and nobody knew what the hell happened. And then they hit their targets perfectly, and it was complete and total obliteration. And that's why that war ended, Steve. They told me that's why the war ended. The war ended when they saw that, it was over. And we're very proud of it. But we have the hottest country in the world right now, from a country that was close to dead. And if I didn't win, if you would have had the other person win, we all know who she is, whether it was she or Biden. They're the same.
My kids are immigrants too.
He may have been more competent than her, and that's hard to
Naturalized
believe,
them.
right? But if you had that ideology in, I don't believe you would have had a country anymore. I think you would have had a country that was broken up. But we had a dead country, now we have the hottest country in the world, and everybody knows it, and everybody said it. Mr. Vice President, do you have anything to say?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say that I'm very proud of the whole team. I think everybody has worked together. You see Pete and Marco and Steve working on some of the diplomacy, Christy and Pam working on the border. We just have a really, really solid team, and we've done a lot of good work. And in particular, I want to congratulate the White House staff, led by the President, on getting the One Big Beautiful Bill passed. I was personally skeptical, sir. I never told you this, but I was skeptical we'd be able to get that thing done by July 4th. We did it because we worked together and we worked very well. So it's an honor part of it.
He's a grandfather,
I'm really proud of you guys for doing a great
Angela. You're
job.
confused.
The beautiful thing about it, it had something for everyone.
Right.
Most people said it had
He's
to
a
be broken into
patriarch.
7 bills, it's so big. The problem was that some of those 7 have nothing for anyone, but they had to be done for, sometimes you have to do things for the country that aren't necessarily popular. We had a couple of them, and that wouldn't have worked. So the One Big Beautiful Bill, many people said it could never be approved. Too big, too everything, is too much. But it had something very big and very important for everyone, and it's great for the country. And remember, the Democrats have come up with a false narrative, just whatever. It's just a line that they send to everybody and that they print. I think in the case of this, it's death. Everyone's going to die. I heard that.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Death
going to
cult.
just the opposite. Everyone's going to live. What we're doing is saving our
Angela's
country
part of the
and
death cult,
making
too.
it much bigger, better, and stronger than
Alan
it ever was.
is.
I'd like to ask, Marco's been doing such a great job. Do you have anything to say?
Well, it's just going through a list here, Mr. President, and I think the Vice President's pointed out to the great team you have, but and all these achievements that have happened domestically. But you think about it under your leadership.
Oh,
prevented
yeah.
and ended a
They're
war
called
between
illegal
India and
aliens,
Pakistan.
Angela.
NATO's now at 5%.
They don't
for the first
deserve
time ever, the
Medicaid.
highest numbers ever. A peace deal between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. A 12-day war that ended with an American operation that we're the only country in the world that could have done. Hopefully, pretty soon, a peace deal between Azerbaijan and Armenia. The entire Middle East and the infrastructure of it has the potential now to change because of Syria and Lebanon, and it hasn't even been 6 months.
True.
It hasn't even been 6 months, so it's a
a
great
lot.
testament to your leadership in this.
Well, thank you very much, and you've done a fantastic job. Could I just ask Linda, she's involved in so much, she's so talented and so good, and she's working on a couple of little things like Harvard, who was given $5.5 billion over a short period of time. We caught him on that one, it's crazy, but you're working on so much, you want to bring education back to the States.
Wow.
How are you doing?
Well, absolutely, and thank you for the opportunity. I think on the big, beautiful bill, what we saw, with school choice, that's finally on the national
Why you here,
basis
Selma?
at the state level, but there are opportunities now for scholarships, more and more of them for kids who are in failing schools. It's going to be a big turnaround. I think one of the biggest accomplishments we had over the past week was University of Pennsylvania. with the Title IX ruling that Leah Thomas was stripped of her title, Riley Gaines and Paula Scanlon and other women who have stood, so strong against men and women's sports. And when you put out the executive order, I mean, that just solidified and gave them the opportunity. So those are a couple of really, really big wins, and thank you for that opportunity.
And how are you doing with Columbia and Harvard?
We're negotiating hard. I think we're getting close to having that happen. It's not wrapped up as fast as I wanted to, but we're getting there.
Okay, good. And you've done a fantastic job. Thank you very much.
You've been a good team.
Yep,
Good team.
you have a great team.
Around this table, a lot of people help with that.
That's right. Thank you very much. Maybe just in closing, we spent a lot of time, effort, very little money on this room. This is called the Cabinet Room. It's been here for a long time. And it had some pictures that were not many of them and not very good ones. And I actually spent time in the vaults. The vaults are where we have a lot of great pictures and artwork. And I picked it all myself. I'm very proud of it. That's Andrew Jackson, great Andrew Jackson. That's a
Yes,
gentleman
it is.
named, and we call him President Polk. He was sort of a real estate guy. He was, people don't realize he was he was a one-termer, but he was a very good president. But, and I'm not sure I should be doing this, he actually gave us the state of California. He was the one. He was the one. So I'm not sure, maybe he won't be there for long. But if you notice, the frame is the exact same size almost as the other one is Andrew Jackson. So that was a part of the reason too, I have to be honest. But Polk was actually a very good president who's got the same frame that I needed, okay? And up here you have the original George Washington right behind the light. And then you have Dwight Eisenhower, who was a very underrated president. He built the interstate system, and he was the toughest president, I guess, until we came along. But I don't mind giving up that crown, because I don't want to be too tough on it, but we want to be humane. But he was the toughest president on immigration. He was very strong at the borders, very, very strong. And sometimes you can be too strong. He was strong at the borders, and during a certain period of time, they were so strong that almost every farmer in California went bankrupt. And we have to remember that. We have to work together, and we have to remember that. But he was a very good president, and a very good general, and a very good president. He was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And if you notice, there were a lot of ramps outside. We have ramp. People say it's an unusual place for a ramp. It was because of him. He was wheelchair bound, but he was an amazing man. It's an amazing portrait, and we used to have him in the room, a different portrait, and it was a terrible portrait. It was almost like it was done by a child. And I used to say, I can't believe that he would have approved of that portrait of himself. And I was in the vaults and looking at things. I said, what's that? And we have some great curators here. We have 6 curators at the White House. They have 2 for paintings, they have them for furniture, they have them for different things. I guess cost is no object. Okay, cost is, maybe I'd have 1, but that's all right. But we have
Zach,
6,
let
and they're
big
very talented.
agriculture go bankrupt
That's
so
a
real
picture
farmers can
of
use the
FDR.
land.
I said,
That's
really?
what
Let
you
me see
mean.
it. They took off the wrappings, very well preserved. And I said, that's
Industrial
the picture we've been
agriculture
looking for
destroyed
years.
American
That was
farms.
the picture of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And I said, oh, wow. And likewise, that frame-wise, it doesn't work if you have, I want to be nice, but it doesn't
Angela
work if you
wants
have a
Kamala
big frame,
back.
a little frame, but it's like perfection. I'm a perfectionist. The mirror was down in the vaults also. I said, where is this from? And it's a very old, very storied mirror, beautiful. We put that up. And then over there is Honest Abe Lincoln. And that picture was in his bedroom. And we thought that this would be a very important place because this is where wars are ended. I'm not going to say wars are declared. I'm going to say wars are ended, okay? We'll be positive. And that's the picture of Abe Lincoln from his bedroom, sat in the bedroom many, many years. That was his favorite picture of himself. And the Lincoln bedroom's very famous. You remember when Bill Clinton had it and he rented it out to people. Okay? We don't do that. But it's an incredible room. And we took that picture from his bedroom. That's Abe Lincoln. And then over here you have John Adams, and it's
Love it, Donna.
They were the first occupants of the White House, 1800. And John Quincy Adams, Mrs. Adams, they were the first occupants. So we have them looking at each other, and in between their stare is Abraham Lincoln trying to make peace. And that picture was in a room that I have that was not important like the cabinet. I gave it up. I said, I have to give it up because that's one of the greatest pictures of the White House. The White House is tremendous art. And the Oval Office, when we're there, we'll go over that. That's really been something. Then we got the drapes. So we got the whole
I don't
thing.
ever
We got new
remember a
drapes.
president
We got
doing
new-
this
Wasn't
before,
a big expense,
explaining
very
every
small.
detail. I love
And
it.
we took some of the chinaware and silverware and trophy-ware, they call it, from the vaults, and we had it cleaned up, hadn't been shined up in 100 years. Some of this has sat in the vaults for over 100 years. Amazing.
It's amazing.
Over 100 years. Many of the pictures that were put up in the Oval Office as an example, those two as an example. So he was president.
Antiques
They
in the
moved in
Oval Office.
1800.
Wow.
And he won the election, I believe, in November of 1800.
This is
John
our
Quincy
history, our
Adams.
country's history.
And we thought that would be, he
He's
was
shining it up,
considered to be a
cleaning
good
it up
president,
for us.
and he was the first occupant of the White House, so it sort of made sense. And I love the frame of those pictures.
Yeah,
Look at
it
those
does.
frames, you know? I'm a frame person. Sometimes I
I'm a
like frames
frame
more than I
person.
like the pictures. And we have the flags of the Marines, and Space Force now has its own flag. I'm very proud of Space Force, but the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Space Force, the whole thing. And Coast Guard is right there. We never forget the Coast Guard. They do a great job. So we have the flags throughout the office. It's really become quite a beautiful place.
It's a show place.
I don't want to tell this, Marco pointed it out. I was going to leave the clock. So as president, you have the power, if I go into the State Department or Department of Commerce or Treasury, if I see anything that I like, I'm allowed to take it. Do you believe this? So I'm in Marco's, I see this gorgeous clock, grandfather clock, and there it is. I said, Marco. I didn't know about it. I had to read him the rule and regulation. I said, Marco, I love this clock. Look at it. It's
I love this
beautiful.
clock.
He said, what clock? I said, the clock that's in the other room is incredible, and nobody gets to see it there. Marco, I tried to talk him into it first, and it sort of worked, and then I had to use a little more. I said, I'd love to
He's
take
so
that
real.
clock out and put it in the cabinet room. He said, no, are you serious? I said, Marco, I have the right to do it, Marco. And he said, all right, what the hell? So that's his contribution to the cabinet room. But it's, by the way, it's an incredible clock, and you know, it's an important room. So you may see it again. Maybe we'll move it back sometime. Anyway, so that's pretty much great. Here we put on, you know, these have been very important, actually.
Even the
whether
lamp
people love them or
seat
not, but
screens.
they're- If you see pictures like Pearl Harbor and Tora Tora Tora, you see movies about the White House where wars are being discussed. Oftentimes they show those lamps or something like those lamps, something that looks like them, probably not. the
Angela,
real
you're gonna hurt
I don't think
yourself.
they were allowed to. This is a very important room. This is a sacred room. And I don't think they made movies from here. You never know what they do. But they were missing medallions. See the medallions on top? They had a chain going into the ceiling. And I said, you can't do that. You
Every
have to have a
detail.
medallion. They said, what's a medallion?
Every
I said, I'll
detail.
show you. And we got some beautiful medallions, and you see them. They were put up there. It makes the lamps look better. So we did
Good job,
these changes, and you know, when you think of it, the cost was almost nothing. We also painted the room a nice color, beige color, and it's been really something. The only question is, will I gold leaf the? Maybe told me my cabinet.
He loves gold.
You see the top line moldings, and the only question is, do you gold leaf it? Because you can't paint it. If you paint it, it won't look good because they've never found a paint that looks like gold. You see that in the Oval Office.
might be
They've
right,
tried for
Zach.
years and years. Somebody could become very wealthy, but they've never found a paint that looks like gold. So painting it is easy, but it won't look right. And the question is whether or not we should gold leaf it. Linda, do you have an opinion? You like it the way?
No,
You'd gold leaf it? Who would gold leaf it?
I'd gold leaf
How
it.
about- Would you
Gold leaf it, Trump.
Well, McKinley was a great president who never got credit. In fact, they changed the name of Mount McKinley, and I changed it back because he should have been, the people of Ohio were very, he was the governor of Ohio. The people of Ohio were very happy when I did that. They were very insulted. They took the name of Mount McKinley off. That was done by
Yeah, I
Obama
hear you, Deb.
a little while ago, and I had to change it back. I changed it back. He actually was a great president. He was a president, he was the tariff, the most, I guess, since me. I think I'm going to outdo him, but he was a tariff president. He believed that other countries should pay for the privilege of coming into our country and taking our jobs and taking our treasure. That's the way he explained it. They took our jobs and they took our treasure, and for that they should pay.
Yes.
And he made them pay, and he built a tremendous fortune. In fact, in 1887, they had the Great Tariff Committee was set up in 1880. The country had so much money, we didn't know what to do with it. And they set up a committee of, as they called them, elites, a term that we have to change because I think a lot of the people that are elites aren't elite. I think the people that aren't elite are elite, so we're going to have to maybe switch that around somehow. But they had a committee that was set up to spend the money because it was such a large amount of money at that time. It was nobody had seen anything like it, and it all came in from tariffs, and people didn't pay tax. There was no income tax system. I told you that came back in 1913.
Birthright citizenship is a
That came
grift.
back and lived well for a while, and then you had the Great Depression, and then later they tried to bring back tariffs, but the whole thing was. This was after the Depression. That was one of the great misconceptions is people like to say, oh, but it was during the, no, the country had a Great Depression. Long after it started, they brought back tariffs to see if they could save it, but it took them.
Is that Korean?
Really 25 years. Wouldn't you say about 25 years to get out of the Great Depression? A lot of people don't understand that. But I thought it would be interesting for you to get a little view of this room. This is a very important room, very powerful room, great room. And we've done similar, but even beyond this, in the Oval Office. We brought back pictures of some of the great presidents. Many of them were in the vaults for over 100 years. Originals all, beautiful, beautiful things. And rather than sitting in a vault downstairs for 128 years, I thought we should display that, and we did that, I think, in a really good way. We've gotten very high marks, but it's interesting. People walk into that room and they look around the room. They don't even want to talk to me. They could look at it for hours. It's funny, when people come into the Oval Office, it's such an incredible, it's a sacred place. When people come into the Oval from the biggest people in the world,
Korean.
Presidents, prime ministers, kings, queens, one case at least, queens, and the biggest business people in the world, they walk into that office and they always say there's no place like this in the whole world in terms of the power. I mean, it's beautiful and all, but there are other beautiful offices. You have businessmen that have offices that are, full floors of office buildings, floor-to-ceiling glass, and they walk in there and they say, there's no place like this anywhere in the world. There's no place. And, it's what it represents maybe more than the physicality of the room itself. So it's an honor to have you all, media. It's an honor to have you. I just want to say we have a fantastic cabinet. Every one of them is a star in my book. And if they're not, I'll let you know about them. I don't care. I'll throw them to the wolves. I'll throw them to the wolves in 2 seconds because our country comes first, right? But I just want to thank you all for being here. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. I'll tell you some other.
Welcome,
Thank
Deb
you.
Scarm.
Yeah, I will. Are we talking about next week or
Yeah,
next?
Sunday.
I'm gonna go.
You're gonna bring the trophy.
I'll be going to the game. Yeah,
Delivering the trophy.
I'm gonna deliver it. They have it in my office.
Yes.
You're right.
You're giving it up?
Oh, boy. Cameraman's a little bit crazy. Okay. All right, guys. So, wow, that 99 minutes of President Trump's cabinet meeting. But again, that's what it's all about, transparency. Well, I did not help my hair there. I'm having a bad hair day, guys. So, yeah, whatever. Um, people are so concerned these days, by the way, with how everybody looks. You know, they always have something to say about how everyone looks. It's so dumb. Why don't we judge people on the content of their character instead of the way they look? Just like Martin Luther King Jr. said. Because really, that's all that matters. Whoops, my camera is going a little fluey here. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me. Today's beach report was crazy. This cabinet meeting really brought out a lot of trolls and wacky people, but it also brought out a lot of wonderful patriots. So if you like the beach report, if you like my coverage, and sometimes I just go to the beach and I don't ever have to talk about, what are we doing here? Dove's term. Dude, you need to go. Sorry. So I don't know what's happening to people in the world that they are just so rude and I mean, this pleasant person is not pleasant. Get rid of you. Anyway, yeah. I don't know. I don't understand it except for the fact that you guys, the alternative of what we would have had in the White House had we continued on with the Biden-Harris administration and then flipped it over to Cackles. A lot of stuff going on right now, we would be appalled because the people who were running our country, they were running it into the ground. And you can get all upset about all these illegals being deported, but they were being ushered in and they need to go. So they're going, bye-bye. I don't have any sadness or remorse for any of these people who broke into my country. I have a lot of empathy for people in need and people who actually follow the rules and do things the way that I did. You know, I immigrated from this country, so from this country to Switzerland, and then I immigrated back and I had to follow all the rules. And I had to pay all the money and it wasn't easy. And in order to come back to my own country, I had to be sponsored by my grandparents. So you want to talk about any kind of immigration stuff. Hey, I've been through it both ways. I left this country in 1992. I moved to Switzerland because I did not want to have children in America. I did not want to live in a country that I noticed everybody was getting fat. Everybody was unhealthy. We were eating food with all sorts of ingredients in it we can't even pronounce, stuff just made by chemicals, addictive chemicals, by the way, destroying our farmland with big ag, you know, the industrial agriculture, taking our seeds and making them GMO and like literally putting farmers in jail for growing anything that like even blew into their land, like crazy stuff. So yes, RFK Jr. is fixing that. He hired Trump, Zach. So, you know, you can say what you want, but anybody who is like, who is this crazy person who wants to like keep saying nasty things? I guess it's a bot. Anyway, we just get rid of bots. So, and all of your nasty comments, they will not last, by the way. I love that about YouTube, is that you can say whatever you want on here. It goes away as soon as the show is over. Yeah, I put that person out. That was the second time, so I guess that bot's got a couple of accounts. Anyway, yeah, hello, BB. And I don't know what you're saying in Korean, but you know, I know that the Koreans are generally our friends, and I see hearts and stuff, and I even saw a cross. So you're good. You're good. You know, you can talk. We don't understand what you're saying though. So yeah, it's a lot. Anyway, we do, BB, we love Korea. So I am here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania this week. I actually grew up here and I'm staying with some of my very best friends. I seem to have this one guy who keeps coming on my show and like trying to, I don't know, trying to make assumptions about me that aren't true. It's so funny how people see someone on a show like this, a creator like me, and they just think they know everything about you. And like the few hours that you're online, boy, your whole life is being dissected, the way you look, the way you talk, where you live, all this stuff. But I do kind of boast. I guess I would say this guy thought I was whining, but I don't whine. I boast. I boast about the fact that I'm homeless. And I say homeless in the best terms possible. And the reason that I'm homeless is because I am so busy going from place to place to place that I could never keep up a home. If I had to live in one place, I think I would lose my mind. I feel like God gives me missions, and then I got to go on the missions. Everywhere I go, people are happy that I'm there. People ask me to come. Every time I show up, I am loved and cherished and cared for. And oftentimes I also care for the people that I'm with. So, here we go again. Wait, BB, I thought you were a good person, but you are not. So there we go. What is up with that person? So weird. I don't understand. Anyway, Donna and I are like, get rid of them. Not that it matters. The trolls come on. They don't ruin my day because I don't really care what anybody thinks about me except for the Lord. That's who I care about, thinking if I'm a good person or not. My judge is God, and that's my only judge, and that's who I'm playing for, is him up there. Hi, Scott. So anyway, yeah, our founding fathers gave us a republic. That's right. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic, and don't you forget it. Anyway, I don't have to defend the way that I live because I love my life. I love the way that I live. And when I talk about being homeless, I'm talking about it in glowing terms, that I just adore being so free that I can go anywhere I want. And I have friends all over the world. So this one guy was like, oh, you need to stay in a homeless shelter. Like, why would I stay in a homeless shelter when everybody invites me to their home? Like, everybody. People, like, there's a list of people who want me to visit them, and I don't even have enough time to do it. Oh, here comes another one. Wow, these people are crazy. I guess that's the new thing, to come on someone's show and just start, I don't know, shenanigans. Anyway, doesn't bother me. We just get rid of you. We don't care. So as far as my homelessness, it's really more of a fact that I have a lot of options, and I don't have one home. I think I have probably at this point, I might be up to 7 or 8, maybe actually more. I know that if I went out to Texas again, you guys saw me in Texas last month. Well, I love Texas so much, and Texas loved me so much that if I wanted to move to Texas tomorrow, I absolutely could. Like, Ginger's like, girl, you gotta come stay here. Susan and DJ, girl, you gotta come stay here. So I have so many options, and I love it. It's always amazing whenever I show up and someone has a problem. Now, this is like a new thing that's been happening. Every time I show up, somebody has an issue, a problem, and all of a sudden I solve it. It is so cool. Yes, the one channel, you get it. Let the Lord use you. Jesus didn't have a pillow to lay on, meaning a house. That's exactly what I'm doing. And I want to talk about it because I think it's wonderful. And I understand not everybody can live this way. You cannot live this way if you have a family, if you have children. This is not the optimal way to live. My dog Muffin was so great about it, and she loved going to all the homes too. In fact, she considered herself as a huge homeowner, my little dog. Everywhere we showed up, she would be like, honey, I'm home. And she just owned the place. It was so cute. Now that she's gone, I cannot replace her because it doesn't benefit anyone, me or an animal, to be going to different places all the time and have to train a new dog, or, I would say cat, but I have had cats in the past, but not getting more cats. Anyway, you know what, James? You sometimes have to get rid of the people who come in to do you harm. Okay, there is such a thing. You can't welcome everybody because there are really bad people out there. I mean, James, do you lock your car? Do you lock your house? Do you do it because you hate everybody? You do it because you care about what's in the car, what's in the house, the people. What are you afraid of, Bob? You know what? Being afraid is of the devil. I'm not afraid of anything. In fact, that's what my husband used to say about me. We'd be talking about something. I'd say, I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of anything. And he'd say, I know, baby. That's what scared me the most about you. My husband was Cuban, and he was a tough guy. But when it came to fear, he was afraid of a lot. Hey, there's Spirit. Hi, Spirit. We were missing you, girlfriend. And there's Lisa Ann, too. Hello, hello. So you're right, Lisa. We cannot afford to take care of everybody in the world. And the people who came into this country, especially over the past 4 years, were doing so in order to take advantage of us. Now, how stupid do you have to be to let people take advantage of you? And that's what we were dealing with. Thank you, Lisa Ann. I really appreciate it. Letting people take advantage of you is also making them bad too. It's kind of like when you have children. If you coddle your children and you never make them do any chores and you never make them clean up after themselves and you just basically give them everything they want, what kind of children do you have? I mean, you're not raising people self-sufficient. In fact, you're telling your children, taking care of them like that they cannot care for themselves. That's what you do. Oh, thank you, Victoria. I have never been to Michigan, but I know I need to do actually a whole country tour. Maybe the world later, but right now I want to stay in this country, and I'm making it my mission to visit all of my really long-term followers. If you've been following me I'm even going to do 5 to 10 years. Because Darla, I think it's been 5 for you, right? Well, Darla's on, she just went to work. Anyway, but Lisa, if you had coddled your sons, do they work? Do they have families? Are they taking care of themselves? Are they taking care of you? If so, it's because you raised them right. You cannot give people everything they want. Giving people things like government assistance, all that stuff just teaches people to be dependent. And when you teach somebody to be dependent, then they are forever dependent. And they don't appreciate what you do for them. Oh no, because they expect it. And if you suddenly stop, they fall apart. Lisa knows, lives alone and loves it. Yep. I'm so alone right now. I've never been so alone in my life, and I love it. Yes, I miss my dog. Yes, I miss my husband. Yes, I miss having little kids in the house. I miss being a mom, I miss all that stuff that I had, but I don't miss it so much that I want it back. Like right now, I'm gonna forge ahead. Right, Lisa gets it. And I love my freedom. I do love taking why everywhere I go, I end up taking care of somebody in some way, so I've got my girl in the middle of Florida where she always needs a driver because she can't drive, and her daughter has, I'm going to say Alzheimer's, but that's not right. Her daughter has not Asperger's, autism, that's it. And she needs a lot of help. So I go and I help her. I mean, everywhere I go, I'm helping people. And that is so good for me. If I were all about myself and I was just doing things and so scared, I'm not gonna have enough money. Let me tell you a little story about money. Every time I give money away or use money to help somebody else or have a big reason for the money that I spend, I find that money gets replaced immediately. It's really crazy. I'll tell you a little story of how that just happened the other day. So when I was in a situation where a friend of mine needed a couple $100, and she was really worried about it because she's been having money problems, and it was just too much money. And she was like, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. She's got this, that, and the other thing coming down on her plate. So I always have $100 bill in my wallet for just any kind of emergency. I make sure there's always that $100 bill there. That's my emergency fund. So I pulled out the $100 bill and I said, you need this. And she's like, I will pay you back. And I said, no, you will not pay me back. You don't have to pay me back. This money is for an emergency. And I know that if I had an emergency and I needed $100, you would absolutely give it to me. I know you would do that. So she said I would, and I know this about her. So I said, you know, I'm not always able to help, but when I can help, I help. So I gave her the $100, and do not expect her to pay me back. Do not pay me back. So what happens? I'm like, you know, doing my travels and everything. And one of my followers says, hey, I live in such and such a place. And I look on the map and it's right on my way, no worries. And I'm like, okay, I will come by and meet you and say hello. So I do that and we have a wonderful time. And I don't expect anything other than just to meet this lady. And she's been following me for 10 years. It was wonderful. And I know that she loves me and I love her too, because I feel like my really long-term followers, really, they are my family members. And Christ would not like me. Okay, whatever. Anyway, I'm getting ready to leave and she goes, oh my gosh, I almost forgot. She runs in the house and she comes back and she hands me. I'm like, you know, he knows. So my $100 replacement is back in my wallet for the next person who really needs it. And there we go. Yeah, take out James. James is confused. I think maybe James doesn't like himself. So I wonder if, you know, the trolls who are not bots, who are actually people, I think that these are people who are so unhappy in their lives that they get on the computer and they just start writing stuff to strangers they know nothing about. They say horrible things. And I don't know, does it make your life better to do that? Do you feel good when you do that? Because I don't feel bad, like you're not hurting me. And the people who are watching here, that's why I have all these mods on, because when they see people like you, they just take them out. It doesn't hurt any of us. So I feel like you need to maybe make better use of your time. If you're a keyboard warrior going on to someone's show like this and trying to maybe hurt me with your words or prove that you're who you are, you know, whatever, because we see you. When you write horrible things to strangers of people you don't know, we all know what kind of person you are. You're not telling us anything about the person that you're making fun of or that you're trying to put down. It just says a lot about you. So if you want to let the world know that you're a jerk and a loser and a keyboard warrior, then there you go. You're doing it. We all see you. But when you're good and you're loving, you know, I think it makes your life a lot better. And you always see me with a smile on my face, even when times are tough. I keep the smile because inside I am actually very happy all the time. I know it's kind of hard to believe somebody could be happy all the time. I mean, I have my moments of sadness, you know, and when I miss my dog and my husband and my parents and everybody who's gone, you know, I don't really feel so much sadness. I just feel like melancholy, you know. I mean, grief is tough and you deal with it forever. It never goes away. When you've lost someone you love, they're always on your mind. It's really weird, but trolls are my least favorite toy. I know, I hear you, Donna, but girl, you know, you're one of my mods and you're doing a very important job. You're actually, well, you're my stylist, so I look this good because of you. I'm so incredibly blessed in my life that I have so many people all around me who all love what I do and they all want to help. And so that's why the Beach Report is the show that it is, because it's because of you guys. I wouldn't do this if it weren't for you. I never wanted to be on camera. I've always been a writer. I've always been behind the newspaper, behind the camera. But here I am, front and center, but still writing books. Well, now I'm writing books. So anyway, Yeah, good job, Donna. No more fern scribble. I don't know. I don't mind the Koreans, whatever. I don't know what they're saying. Sometimes I wonder, is it code? Like, what are they talking about? But whatever. People know other languages. Hey, Allison. All right, you guys. Well, we've been on a long time. I have a lot of work to do. As y'all know, I am working on a new book that for once I didn't write, but I am editing and publishing it as I become a publisher. This is one of my new goals, and it's so much fun. And the satisfaction I'm going to get when this book is a reality and it's actually helping this man and his families to survive. That's all I need. That's really all I need. So that's me flying around the universe, doing the best I can to help everybody around me and also have a wonderful life in doing so. Because I find that if you really want to be a happy person, you help other people because it makes you happy. It actually does more for you to help someone else than it does for them, I think. I don't know. Why don't you guys tell me? All right, well, I'm going to say ciao for now. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Like I said, I have a super, super busy week. I've got a lot of stuff to do because I'm here with my girl, and she's like, I'm putting you to work. So I love it, and everything I do always turns out to be so interesting and so much fun, and also great for you guys. Yes, Lisa Ann, you absolutely should write that. If you need any help, you let me know, and I always am happy to help. All right, you guys, much love to all of you as well. So thank you for joining me today. It was a crazy show, but I think it was really interesting. And President Trump, he's the GOAT. Darla had to learn that the GOAT means greatest of all time. All right, you guys, I'm going to say ciao for now. Have a wonderful rest of your day.